Hi, educators and librarians. I'm Angie Thomas, and you may know me from my young adult novels, The Hate You Give, On the Come Up, and Concrete Rose. But today I'm here to talk about my middle grade debut, Nick Blake and the Remarkables, The Manifest of Prophecy. It's about a 12-year-old girl named Nick who is a manifester. That's a person with an ability called the gift. It's stronger than magic and a bit more powerful, and you're born with it, but you have to learn how to use it. And every year, Nick's dad promises that he's going to teach her, but every year he has a new excuse. She's too young, is nothing to play with, blah, 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 blah. That is until one day, Nick's dad is accused of a crime that Nick is sure he didn't commit. And in order to save him, she's going to need all the power she can get. There are hellhounds, werewolves, vampires, shapeshifters, there's magic technology, there's black history, black folklore, there's a literal underground railroad, and there may even be a dragon. But also, since it's an Angie Thomas novel, there are important issues and questions raised too, like what does it mean to be a black person with a powerful ability when there are so many issues that are affecting people who look like you that you could fix, but maybe just maybe you aren't allowed to? But also, what does it mean when you're in a world that doesn't accept you as you are and you have to hide who you are? How do you learn how to be who you really want to be? So I hope you enjoy this novel. I hope your young readers enjoy it. And I look forward to talking to you about it soon. Bye.
Hi, my name is Laura Okihiro, and I'm the author of Obison's Boots, which I co-wrote with my cousin Janice Bridger. Obison's Boots is based on the story of our grandmother, Hisa Okihiro, who was born and grew up in BC, in British Columbia in Canada, but as a young woman, she, like 22,000 other Japanese Canadians and 120,000 Japanese Americans, so all people who were of Japanese ancestry, were forced from their homes by the government and forced into camps or ghost towns, so incarcerated there during the time of World War II. They were all considered enemy aliens, and that includes my father, who was a baby at the time. So the story, Obison's Boots, is about grandma, but it's also a bit of a mystery because it's about two girls who have overheard these stories a little bit about what's happened to their family in the past, but they don't really know really what's going on or what happened. And so they kind of have to piece together these things that they've heard, and they spend the day with their grandmother in the garden, and she shares the story with them, and so they kind of solve this family mystery of theirs. We wanted to write this story, Janice and I, because we wanted to honor our grandmother who passed away in 2019. But we also thought it was really important to tell this story and for people to hopefully learn something about this past, because we think it's an important thing to know more about, partly because maybe it helps us think about what it means to be Canadian and what that history we kind of inherit is, and what we might do with that history, and maybe how we might become better Canadians if we have to think about the bad things too. To write Obison's Boots, we had to piece together and research quite a bit of history, but luckily we had quite a few documents. So we had notebooks that my grandmother had written, or that people had written her stories down in. We also had like articles that my grandfather had written. We had old photographs that family members had collected over the years. There's another great one in here of my grandparents' wedding picture. And then we also talked to a lot of family members, like Uncle Isi, who's grandma's last living sibling. And we gathered these stories. We talked to cousins, we talked to lots of people, other people who had pictures. We kind of put that together, and where we still couldn't quite figure out missing bits of history, we'd have to fill it in with fiction, or where the story just wasn't quite working. Of course, we had to use fiction, so we used our imaginations. but we also tried to keep as true to the history as possible. But I wonder if you might find, if you were reading Obasan's Boots, if you might find parts where you think, that's not quite history, is it? Or, ooh, that's really exciting. And I wonder how much of that is fiction or how much of that is history. I hope you enjoy reading Obasan's Boots or find it a really compelling read, something maybe you'd like to share with others. And I hope maybe it helps you learn or get interested in learning more about Canadian history or the history where you live or the history of your family or the places where you come from. And if it just inspires you to spend a few moments with your grandparents or your grandchildren and share stories around a table or over tea or maybe in the garden or cooking together, I think that's absolutely amazing. Enjoy your reading. Bye.
Hi everyone, my name is Emmy Pinto, and I'm the author of Bee Bakshi and the Gingerbread Sisters. I was born and raised in Ottawa, and I call it home, and this is my first book. Like I said, middle grade for kids about ages 9 to 12. It's slightly spooky and a paranormal mystery, but I like to call it horror with heart, emphasis on the heart. So Bee should be with her bestie in Florida. I'm at this Betsy Chillers amusement park, and Betsy Chillers is her favorite fictional sleuth horror book series. But instead, she's spending the week with her family, forced to listen to her father spout odd facts, her granny hum random show tunes, and her mother boast about bargains. And she's stuck with her family at Storm Lake for a cottaging adventure. Most embarrassing of all, however, is Bee herself, according to her. She has frizzy hair, tan skin, and secondhand clothes, and all this mark her as different when all she wants to do is fit in. Luckily, Bee finds solace in her horror books and the fearless heroine Betsy Chillers. Little does she know, though, that the lessons from her favorite series are about to become very, very real. So something in the forest is watching her, something in the water wants to hurt her, and she can't shake the smell of gingerbread. Next door neighbor Lucas, the local weird kid, thinks that there are ghosts lurking in the forest, but new girl Alina tells her that what she's feared all along. There's a witch at Storm Lake, and she's coming for Bee. This book is very dear to my heart. Not only is it based on the last camping trip that I had as a family with my grandmother, but it's also set in the Gatineau, Quebec cottage country. So it has a lot of familiar touchstones for kids that grew up camping like I did. And of course, it was based on my last cottaging adventure, but there weren't any witches or haunted gingerbread. I will say, though, that some of the ghosts may have been real. In terms of themes, I'll use the words from my agent here. It tackles girlhood and the difficult friendships and grief through horror, and it tackles race through a bone-chilling lens of alluring wishes. So our main character, she's in crisis. Like when it comes to identity, crisis. Bee is dealing with acceptance of herself and her family traditions and her culture. She's trying to belong to an idealized family when there is no such thing, as she'll discover. At the same time, Bee is confronting a difficult friendship that makes her question what she's willing to put up with in order to fit in, and how she can expect herself to be loved for being exactly who she is. Ultimately, though, through all her messiness and her difficult moments of growth, she can be a bit mouthy. Bee goes on a journey of redemption and acceptance of grief and letting go, and she does this by finding strength from family, true friendship, and self-acceptance. In terms of the educator guide, so there is an educator's guide on my website, emmypinto.com, and I broke it into the questions and discussion topics into 3 themes: communicating feelings, losing a loved one, and bullying and inclusiveness. So the questions are slightly focused on reading comprehension, but the emphasis really is on creating a space for reflection and discussion around these topics. And that's me, Emmy Pinto, and my debut middle grade, Bee Bakshi and the Gingerbread Sisters. Thanks so much for listening, and welcome to the Betsy Chillers Club.
Hello, my name is Nadia El Han, and I am so excited to be participating in Fold Kids 2023. I will be sharing 2 books this year, and I'm so excited to tell you all about them. Another book that I'll be sharing this year is called The Anti-Racist Kitchen, 21 Stories and Recipes. I was the editor of this book. This book was illustrated by Rosa Nazari. This book contains 21 recipes by some very well-known New York Times bestselling, award-winning authors from all across North America. They have roots from all around the world. And I really wanted to make sure that I had a lot of representation from different experiences because racism has impacted so many communities in different ways. This book was a creation of love. I call it a middle grade cookbook anthology. Various authors shared their stories. And I include a personal recipe in the book, as well as an introduction at the beginning, as well as introduction for each section. This book is organized into 4 parts: resist, reclaim, restore, and rejoice. And it also has a wonderful foreword that was written by Ainara Aline of Ainara's Bookshelf. This book is a great addition to your shelf, and I'm so excited that it will be part of the Fold Festival this year. We will have some of the contributors to this book on a virtual panel, and we'll be discussing some of the features of the book and experiences. And one of the cool things about this book is that it has a glossary of terms at the back, and it really will work well in a classroom, especially since I developed the teaching kit, and I'm a teacher myself, so I wanted to make sure that there was a guide to go with this to help teachers as they teach this book, whether it be reading with your students and making the recipes. I also wanted to make sure that students of color, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color, children of color see themselves in these stories, that they feel that they're not alone, and that they know that these are some of the most challenging things that they'll ever go through, but that they are not alone and that they have ways to deal with it. And I hope that the food will help to open some doors, also to heal, but also to help open some doors into conversations that can take place around a dinner table, in a lunchroom, or a staff room. My question that I start off with this book is, what if talking about racism was as easy as baking a cake, frying plantain, or cooking rice? And I believe that it can be. So please join me, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Hi, my name is Lynn. I'm the author of No Place Like Home, and I'm really excited to share what inspired this book today. For me, this is a story about the immigrant experience. I wrote it for 11-year-old me because that was the year that I came to Canada with my dad. And I feel like growing up, there's this narrative around immigration that you have to be grateful for everything. You have to be grateful that this country welcomed us in. And you don't really get to hear a lot about the hard parts and the parts we leave behind when we make such a big move to a new country. So this is what I hope to shed light on in writing this book. It is about Lan. She's 11 years old. She comes to Canada with her father, much like me. Her dad is working a service job and money is tight. They are living in the basement where they once lived in a very nice apartment back in their hometown of Hanoi, where her mother and her brother remain. And with that comes a lot of challenges to adjusting to a new place. And Lan really feels like she wants to escape, which which is something that I really sought to do as I read hundreds of books that year, trying to escape. Unlike me, Lan actually gets to do that. So she escapes into a magical land and goes on an adventure with her friends Marlo and Annabelle. And they all come to a better understanding of what home means and how to redefine it when it is no longer just one place. So I hope that you are able to enjoy it and have rich conversations about what home means when you're caught between different worlds and different cultures, when home can be the pages of a story, but also far across the oceans or right where you are now. It can be a person, a feeling, so many different things. And then what happens when you cobble all those things together. So I hope you can have rich conversations about that, about immigrating, and about redefining what home means to you.